Jazzcast Pros.
Let me ask you a question. Would you be able to work with your significant other? That is exactly what our next guest, Sam Castro, is going to talk to us about. She is able to manage love, business, fun, and everything in between with her now husband, as she is a newlywed. Sam is the co-owner of Bee Relentless Boxing. She is a 27-year-old entrepreneur, fitness enthusiast, and passionate marketing nerd. She thrives on blending business with a love for fitness, and she is always pushing boundaries. So stay tuned and make sure that you have your pen and paper ready. Welcome to Fearless Fridays with Maryann, the podcast to help you get unstuck, heal your inner child, and reshape your future. I am your host, Maryann Rivera-Dannert, and with over 10 years of experience as a coach, author, speaker, and owner of MRD Empowerment Solutions, I use my personal life experience with trauma, healing, and rediscovery as a catalyst for personal growth. My mission is to empower you to discover and unlock your full potential, paving the way to a life marked by freedom and balance. Together, we'll tackle the tough stuff and find the strength within to rise above. Hello. So welcome to the show. Tell us your name and a little bit about yourself.
I am Sam. I've already sold one business and I currently co-own another with my soon-to-be husband in Rochester, New York that I know you are very familiar with.
Yes.
So I currently co-own a boxing gym in Rochester, New York, Bee Relentless Boxing. My fiance is actually the one who started it out of his father's basement back in 2018. So it is going on 5 years old this November, which is very, very exciting. And he has been doing it since then. We've had this specific location in Rochester since 2020. And we just currently are striving, if you will, to be the number one fat loss, not weight loss, fat loss gym in Rochester.
So you mentioned fat loss. What's the difference between that and weight loss?
So Weight Watchers is like one of the most popular ones that I could think of where it's weight loss. It's a weight loss program. And not to say that Weight Watchers works, doesn't work. I know it works for some. Others, they do it and then they get off of the plan and within 2 weeks gain everything back. That to me is what is considered weight loss, where you drop weight quickly and as soon as you stop doing what you're doing, you regain it all. Whereas fat loss means that we're actually keeping it off, as well as having a focus on really building muscle. Muscle is heavier than fat, as majority would know. But because of that, it's technically, I might be dropping pounds of fat, but I'm also gaining muscle. So it doesn't see that massive difference on like a scale per se.
So what would be the best way for someone to look at themselves and see if they're making a difference?
I always tell everyone take before and after photos. Now, obviously, for some people, that can be a little stressful, anxiety pinching, if you will. But truthfully, all honesty, it's the best way to see it because most people don't have an in-body scanner, which obviously when you came to our gym, you saw that we have it. And what it does is it helps really show the difference between where your muscle and where your fat is at. And because of that, we're able to kind of track and see exactly where we want you to be and where you're going currently, which is huge because a lot of people have no idea.
I love that. So you mentioned that you had a business before and you sold it. So tell us about that business and how did it come about and what made you sell it?
Yeah, so that's a fun story. So I am only 27 years old. I say only as if like that's young, which it is.
It is.
But I wish I started even sooner. But I graduated with my master's degree from Fisher in 2020, like right in the thick of COVID, thick of everything. The world was shutting down and I worked for a experiential marketing agency, which focused and really honed in on like events and trade shows and everything in between, which is great. But for COVID, it's not that great. So because of that, I got laid off, not once, but twice. And at that point, I was like, okay, I just graduated. I have my master's. I have nothing to do with my life, basically.
Right.
And so then I came up with a business model that I knew would be a low startup cost, easy to make revenue pretty quickly, and something that I knew I could do skill set wise. That was just something simple, which was cleaning. And cleaning during COVID, obviously, is something that a lot of people were more focused on than what they normally had been. A lot of people were living at home, and when you live at home, it's kind of hard to want to consistently be cleaning your space. It was a weird time for everyone. So did that, was super successful with it, had it for a year and a half, but wasn't for me. Wasn't the business that I wanted to continue on. I could have hired a team, but also it was at that point very hard to hire someone, even for $15 an hour to clean someone else's house. So decided it would be in my best interest to sell it. I also was going through, not me personally, my father was going through some very difficult medical stuff. So I also wanted to be able to be there for him in that time, which is kind of what pushed me to sell it. It was already a thought in my head, but that was really like I really need to prioritize what I'm doing here and what I'm doing with my time. So sold that, opened it in December of 2020, sold it in March of 2022. And she's now under a new name and doing great, which is super exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about, there has to be more to life. I should be doing more. I know I'm capable of doing more, and they're not sure where to get started. What advice would you give to them?
I would honestly just say, just start. It's the sitting down thinking of like, oh, I could do this business and I could be so successful with this. And it's like, yeah, all great ideas, great suggestions, but you're not going to do anything just sitting there thinking about it. It's taking that initiative, quitting your job. I don't have a job now. How am I going to make income? How's my revenue going to be coming in? I don't have a choice. I have to do something. And, some people that's them getting pregnant and then it's like, oh my God, I have 9 months to get my shit straight. Or it's someone who did get furloughed, such as myself. And I was like, I'm out of a job. How am I going to make money? It's, I think, I don't want to say toxic because I don't feel like that's the right word, but it can be a very difficult rabbit hole you can put yourself down if you just consistently are sitting down thinking of all of these great business ideas. Take action right away. Like, don't think about it for too long. It's the same thing as like when you're ready to have kids, right? Like, oh, you're never going to be ready to have kids. If you ask yourself, like, yeah, no shit, I'm not going to be ready to have kids. Like, what am I going to do instead? I'm going to it happens when it happens and I'll get it together at that point. Same kind of concept.
Okay. So you mentioned that you're a co-owner of the gym. So tell us a little bit more about the gym. Who does it serve? And I know that you're a co-owner. So did he have it before you or did you guys do it together, join in together?
Yeah. So we currently are serving the Rochester, New York area, and surrounding areas, but majority, I would say, of our clientele is in a Rochester zip code. And we gear toward literally everybody. I mean, you took one of our classes, you saw the different levels of ages, different levels of athleticism. I will say, though, I'm shocked, and I was shocked because, again, Steven opened the gym in 2018. I always assumed boxing was going to be like a male-dominant sport, which shame on me, I shouldn't have stereotyped. And I was completely wrong. Our demographic is actually 70% women, 30% men. So it's pretty cool. Got a lot of badass ladies at our gym, but it was surprising for me to realize that when we were going through like the marketing plan, because I got my master's degree in marketing. My goal was to kind of open my own little in-house agency, which I think down the line I'll start to do once we get this space in a good, easy position where we can kind of take a step back and not be as involved. But that's down the line. Yeah. And at that point, that's probably when I'll open my own type of marketing service agency. But I got back into marketing once I sold the cleaning business. Steven had the gym up until this point. He had asked me from literally like a month after knowing me to come in and do his marketing. He was like, you can do the marketing. Like, I want you to do marketing. You're good at it. You know how to do it. All good things. I just had the ego of, well, I don't want to work with my significant other. I don't want my significant other to be my boss. And I'm very lucky to say that he is very much so a what is mine is yours, 50-50 type of a person. So that was very relieving. And that's kind of what made me finally make that jump, because I was like, this is your thing. Like, this isn't my thing. But at the same time, I'm so glad we ended up doing it together, because it's become just more successful. I get to see him more. Our relationship has grown leaps and bounds working together on top of, seeing each other every night, living together, doing all of the normal significant other things. So it's definitely helped on that end as well. So yeah, that's kind of how I came aboard, and I came aboard at the beginning of this year. Still relatively new, but she's grown from January of this year to now immensely, which is huge.
That's beautiful. So you mentioned that you were shocked that there's more women who are interested in boxing. Why do you think that is?
I think for women, it's a confidence piece. I think you look at any type of a fitness facility. I wouldn't consider us necessarily a fitness facility either. I would consider us a transformation facility, because everyone who comes to my gym, the reason they're in there is to see some type of results. And I consider my job to get them those results, which is why I have them come in and we have a very in-depth conversation, because I really want to understand. But with that being said, I also think it's super important for us just to really hone in on that piece, that results-focused piece, if you will, just because it really does make or break a business, specifically in the fitness realm, which a lot of fitness facilities I don't think do. And I think that alone drives a lot of females, just because women are very much more focused on like their physique. Whereas men, I would say it's half mental, half physical. Women, it's a lot more just, I want to have the confidence in how I look, but also I think it's a confidence in the sense of being able to feel like they can protect themselves. Self-defense a little, but really honestly, the boxing piece is going to be the most important piece, because that is how you actually will hit someone, protect yourself, defend yourself. But I would say those two reasons, truthfully, why I feel like women typically are more geared toward boxing than men.
So for the individuals that might be a couple or thinking about, getting a significant other, how do you find the balance between being fiance, boss, employee, and how do you balance that?
Yes. So I cannot take credit for the term of this. It's actually from Cal and Maggie Owen, who are successful gym owners. They're also a couple. And they were the ones who told Steven and I to create cheat codes. Mm-hmm. And cheat codes are something in the sense of like, first off, for business, we've split up what we own. Okay. So there is no intermittent, like, I think this idea, he thinks this idea. If I own it, I make the final say. If he owns it, he makes the final say. If we still can't agree, I will always reference to Steven, because he's the one that opened the gym. Okay. And he is the one with the fitness background, not myself. I'm the one with the marketing and sales piece. So because of that, typically work-wise, that's how we split it. Mm-hmm. But then boundaries, when he comes home, if there's something that happened at work, if there's something that we need to discuss, I have this problem. Can we talk about it now? Do you want to table it for tomorrow? Nope, let's table it for tomorrow. And those types of boundaries, if you will, are what we call our cheat codes. It's the same thing with how often we go out on date nights, how often I need personal alone time. Same thing for him. How often we should truthfully have sex. Like all of the intimate things that you need to discuss in a relationship is what we call our cheat codes. Mm-hmm. And we go through them, and we also have weekly check-ins every Sunday. Him and I in our living room, we sit down on our couch and we literally talk about, okay, this is what we have planned for the week. Where can I help you? Do you feel loved and supported? What can I do to improve your score? Mm-hmm. All of those types of things we literally do every week. But it's the thing that helps the communication just continue on.
Yeah. And that's amazing, because I hear a lot of couples that say, oh, and like you had mentioned earlier, I could never work with my significant other. I don't want him to be my boss, or, have her telling me what to do and things like that. And the fact that you have been very clear on setting those boundaries, and you respect each other, and you literally are equals, not just in the business, but also in the relationship. That's awesome.
Honestly, it's an ego thing. Regardless if you own a business with your significant other or not, if you're in a relationship with someone, you both have an ego.
Right.
Which is a good thing in a sense, but it's also a very bad thing. And it's leaving the ego at the door that you really need to perfect. Because in the beginning, there was those egos of like, well, I know this and I know this, and just us going at it for about a solid week there. And we were like, okay, we can't do this anymore. Like, we need to put the ego aside. You own this piece. You run it. Like, I don't need to agree with you. I don't know it. I just want to contradict you because that's what I'm used to doing in corporate America. And that's stupid. It's a waste of both of our time. And as soon as we implemented that, it was like, amazing. Game changer. Yeah.
I know that you like when you and I met, I was doing a self-defense class. Was there anything pivotal that happened to you personally in your life that you're passionate about, self-defense?
Honestly, yes. Truthfully, like full transparency, yes. But I also like to look at it in the sense of like, because I've been asked this question more than once, because this was not the first self-defense class I've ran. And all the women that come in those classes are from different walks of life. Some have a terrible story, worse than mine. Some have never experienced anything like I've experienced, and everything in between. But the mindset that I have, and my goal for you to come in and leave with every class, is taking that victim mindset and doing something else with it. Because oftentimes people who do take those classes or find themselves in these situations, myself included, I was guilty of it. I chose to allow the shitty things that happened to me, that happened to, I hate to admit, majority of people. I didn't choose to let that narrate my life. I'm so much more than those bad things that happened to me. And I could sit here and I could tell you about a narcissistic ex, a emotionally abusive, psychotic ex. I could tell you all the crazy wilds that have turned me into the person that I am. But at the same time, I don't want to focus in that sense on it being so negative, because without that shit happening to me, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And where I'm at right now is a much more confident, much more I'm not going to fuck with you type of mentality. And I'm also going to set my boundaries, because I never used to do that either as a people pleaser, which is not good. So I've definitely allowed myself to just get out of that narrative, learn the things I needed to learn to progress on, and use that type of terrible awfulness to just fuel me through it. Just go right through it.
Yeah. So what was one of those techniques that you used to get from that point to where you are today?
2 things, and that was it. Meditation, really focusing on breathing patterns. So for me, I wrote down all of the emotions, categorized them by color, envisioned where they were in my body when I felt them, like sadness was in my chest, anger was in my head, and really just focused on breathing it in and exhaling it all out. That's a little bit more on the spiritual side. So I know some people that might be harder, but it was that paired with then the physical exertion, because at that time I wasn't as active as I am now. My cortisol levels were all out of line. I was absolutely crazy. That discipline of like getting myself up at 5 a.m. every morning and going and lifting heavy weights and doing cardio definitely impacted it and changed it for the better. But I needed to do both. I couldn't just do one. It needed to be a mutual agreement for mental and physical.
So what exactly is cortisol levels? You mentioned that.
So one thing that a lot of people don't realize is our body has stress. And when it has stress, it automatically is a fight or flight response. Our bodies have not evolved in the sense of they don't realize the modern world and bills and simple things that can cause stress, as opposed to being chased down the road by a bear. But, 500 years ago, a bear chasing you down the street would release that stress, that cortisol. It's the exact same hormone that you get from, say, a negative grade on a test, an expensive bill, a speeding ticket, anything that could cause you stress nowadays. And because of that, your body really has a hard time regulating if you're not currently physically active, because what'll happen is the cortisol will just be uneven. And it's that what people often also don't realize is anxiety or stress could genuinely, yes, be anxiety or stress from something that happened to you 100%, but it also could just be from over over energy, where you just haven't used that energy. You haven't moved throughout the day. You're sitting there, you're just jittery. You're on that consistent loop in your head. All of the terrible, awful, intrusive thoughts are coming in at the same time. You're having heart palpitations. You can't eat. You feel nauseous. All those types of feelings, it's just energy that needs to be exerted. And the way to do that is to be physically active. And then that will help regulate your cortisol, because if your cortisol is high at all times of the day, you're never going to feel calm. You're never going to feel stressed. Cortisol spike during a workout because, your body's feeling like it's in fight or flight mode. Your heart rate's racing. Something's happening. But as soon as you're done with that workout, then all of the happy hormones like dopamine, serotonin are going to be released, and it's going to help calm that. And you're going to feel a lot less stressed, a lot less anxious, because that level is starting to go back to normal as opposed to being like high up.
I love that. So how did you get the discipline? How did you develop the discipline to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning?
I didn't give myself a choice. That's the toughest part. Accountability. We are raised to be parents. We are raised, hopefully, in most situations by parents, but we are never raised to be our own parent. So for me, it was setting my alarm and then setting another one and then setting another one and waking up on that third one on the days that I really didn't want to go. But then as I progressed, probably about 2.5 months in, that, I don't want to get up, or, I'm so tired, really kind of started to dissipate, and then it started to become addictive. And at that point, I would not consider it discipline, because discipline is where you're getting up and doing it even if you don't want to. Whereas for most gym people, and this always makes me laugh whenever I see like a super jacked person posting about, I have so much discipline and I'm the toughest and I've put myself through all of this, and 100% not discrediting the fact they look amazing, they've put in all the work. But at the same time, is it really discipline if you enjoy doing it every single day? If you get a release from it? I personally don't think so, based off of how you define discipline. But in the beginning, it is very disciplinary, but it does become so addictive. Your body will start to crave it. On the days I don't work out, Stephen can confirm, I'm a psychopath. I have that extra energy. My cortisol's high. I'm ready to move. So gotta move. Gotta do it.
So you are on the Fearless Fridays podcast. How are you living a fearless life?
Being unapologetically myself, truthfully. I feel like once you have the mindset of just like, this is me, take it or leave it. You like me, you don't like me, I don't care. That you truly can be fearless, because nothing's going to bother you. Nothing's going to be in your head, making you stressed out, making you question anything. You're just going to be sure of yourself and you're going to feel great.
Yeah. What's one tip that you can give to our audience and our listeners to get to that point?
Obviously, I'm very pro people being physical in the sense of working out and doing stuff for their bodies. But I think one thing people really need to remember is it's more so about consistency than intensity. And I think a lot of people who come in our gym, even nowadays, start their first class, start their first week, whatever the case may be, where they just overexert. And they go so hard because they want to see these results so badly. And it's like, it's going to take time. But I can guarantee you, if you keep showing up 30 minutes, 45 minutes a day, and you're doing something for your body, you're going to start to see that difference. It's not going to be a set day that I can guarantee you, but it will happen. So just having that consistency, being consistent with yourself and keeping promises to yourself as well. Because every time you tell yourself a promise and you don't follow through on it, in the sense of, when I get home, I'm going to take a walk with the dog. You come home and you sit down on your couch and you eat a whole bag of family-sized Lay's potato chips. You're subconsciously telling your mind that you can't trust yourself. And as soon as you start to follow through on your promises, the trust within yourself and those insecurities that also come with it, you will be amazed, will slowly start to dissipate. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, I love that. So where can our audience connect with you, learn more about you, about the gym and what you have going on?
Yeah, so the gym, Bee Relentless Boxing on all the social medias. BeeRelentless.fit is our website if you want to see testimonial footage. And then my personal Instagram is Sam_Servati, my last name. It's all bunny wedding gym hobby content. So if that sparks your interest, give me a follow.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing a little bit about you and your journey and everything that you have going on.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. This was a blast.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to leave a 5-star review and share with a friend or two. If you're not already following us on social media, come join the Fearless community at MRD Empowerment Solutions on Facebook or Instagram, or visit our website, MaryannRiveraDannert.com. I'll catch you next week with a new episode, and remember that you are a priority and you matter.